Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you can all hear me clearly. Good afternoon. I want to welcome you all to today's webinar. We're very thankful for all of you joining us today. This is part of our um, initiative to support our community through crisis events. I want to start with a few housekeeping things, and then we're going to get started in today's webinar. So please note that today's webinar is going to be recorded. Your cameras and microphones are closed for your privacy. And using the chat to type in will be our primary way of communicating. As we go through today's webinar, lots of questions or comments or maybe experiences will pop in your mind that you would like to share. We will dedicate 10 minutes at the end of today's webinar to go through all of these. So please feel free to kind of keep your mind that you can chat towards the end. We'll have plenty of time for this. Again, I want to welcome you all and thank you again for being with us today. My name is Dalia Al-Asioud. I'm a speech and language therapist at Maudsley Health. And during these current events, our community going through a lot, and one population that as a speech and language therapist comes to mind are our children with communication differences and needs. Those are children that might have limited ability to understand and process language and express themselves, express their feelings with everything that is changing around them. I saw a comment. I'll just make sure that my audio is on. Robin, can you confirm that the audio is on? Okay, can you hear me now? Perfect. Okay. So, all right. So what I will go through is a lot of the parents that I've been working with lately have been sharing a lot of their experiences, and this is what kind of inspired today's webinar. And this makes us reflect that probably a lot of us have children with communication differences and need, but this also applies for the younger population of children who might be still learning to talk and communicate, but have to navigate the current situation. So I'm going to go through today's agenda. These are the things that we're going to cover today. We want to start with understanding how crisis events can affect communication for this population. We want to recognize behaviors as communication. As you will see later on, we will learn that children communicate a lot through their behaviors, particularly children who don't have enough words or language ability to express how they're feeling using their words. We will learn some strategies to communicate and help children with different communication skills, children who can speak and express themselves, children who don't use words to communicate, and we'll see how different things we can alter and change to support our children. And at the end, I'll share some resources that can help build a practical toolkit that you can use as you go through these different changes with your children. Now, how do children experience and respond to crisis events or conflict? I would say the first thing that children actually notice is changes in the routine. We know from children development that routine is what makes them thrive. If you think about how their school day looks like, how structure works, we all, even adults, we thrive in routine. It helps us regulate, predict what's going to happen next, and offers assurance and soothing to us. So the first thing that is going to change and shift for these children is that change and shift and routine. Different families experience that change at different rates. So for some of the families, it was very sudden, children who had to stop going to school physically and attended school from home. Other children who attended nurseries, maybe it was a bit different than school age children. So we want to reflect on how much of our child's routine actually have changed, and that will be the first indication to how much this is affecting our child. Changes in routine also means parents are now working from home. So instead of one or two adults, maybe we have a full house right now. And that for children who have communication differences, they might feel overwhelmed with all these changes. Um, Changes in routine results in increased unpredictability, causing confusion and fear for our children. This also adds to their kind of different experiences during this event. Now, we will also notice that children will be now exposed to new, unfamiliar words and vocabularies that are not part of our day-to-day conversations, such as alerts, danger, conflict, and the news, TV might be on. They might hear adult conversations around them in the house, and we might not be able to censor and control all of these things around them. So we want to be mindful that those things can contribute to their experience. All of this can result in a big shift in the emotional load that our children are feeling, resulting in reduced processing ability. And that's for all children in general. But later on, we'll see how particularly our children with limited communication or different communication styles might express or experience this. Now, what it looks like in children with communication needs, we want to know that first, children have limited language, so their understanding already is below what we want them to be able to understand, and now there's that additional layer of words and conversations that are beyond their ability to comprehend. Um, Now, they will understand that there is a shift in routine, and they will experience different emotions that become overwhelming. But because they're unable to fully express those feelings, this will result in increased frustration. Frustration is expressed through behaviors. Now, we might hear words like my child is misbehaving, my child is kind of throwing more tantrums, they are becoming a bit more angry in general, they're refusing to do things. These are all the behaviors that are communicating to us, or children are using them to communicate to us that they're feeling fear, frustration, change in routine that they're not able to express using their words. So we want to look at every way that they communicate is through behavior. So we always say all behavior is communication, especially for our children with limited communication skills. Now, how distress may present in children is instead of words, you may see increased tantrums, meltdowns. So maybe when things don't go their way, you changed something in their breakfast or in routine. Maybe simple things that they used to be easy going with now cause big meltdowns. That is an indication. Aggression is one of the things that parents are reporting. So children are maybe, I would say that they have lower um, tolerance for change. So now, if we ask them, give them instructions or give them last minute changes to what their routine looks like, they might engage in destructive behavior, throwing things around, maybe hitting and biting. This is another way of expressing frustration. Withdrawal and silence. And here I want to pause that we might see aggression, meltdown. These are big emotions. Then withdrawal and silence, being quiet, keeping to themselves. They seem like they're at different ends of the spectrum. And this is because every child is different and unique. Not just because children have limited communication needs doesn't mean that they all experience the current events the same way or process them the same way. Your child's best, I would say, therapist, so you can understand how things affect them in general and try to reflect if this is part of how they experienced changes and frustrations in the past. We also might see regression, so maybe more baby talk, toileting issues, refusing to eat, more pickiness in general. And those are things that we might notice, and repetitive questioning or play. I would say this one is one of the most things that parents report frustration around, where children are asking the same questions, especially, for example, am I going to school tomorrow? Am I going to school tomorrow? And parents would repeat the same answers over and over again. This repetitiveness, either in questions or in the way they're playing or wanting to eat the same thing, is their way of expressing that they feel dysregulated and they're actually seeking assurance from us. So it might get to us and overwhelm the parent, but at the same time, this is just a sign that our child is asking for assurance. Now, we want to reframe behaviors because, again, behavior is communication. So we're just trying to help our children kind of put words to their actions or their feelings. So we want to shift our mindset from I want to stop this immediately. I want this behavior to reduce. Of course, because we don't want to see our children distressed, but at the same time, we want to shift this through kind of a mindset of what is my child telling me? Right? So whenever you feel overwhelmed as a parent with all the changes in your child's behavior, try to kind of reframe off instead of I want to immediately stop this behavior, I want to understand what is the behavior telling me. For example, possible meanings for hitting would be I'm feeling overwhelmed. um, Clinginess and increased attachment is one that has been reported a lot over the past couple weeks with children that we're working with. And this is children's way of saying, stay with me. We want to be mindful of hybrid working models. Some parents are working one day from home, the other from office, and that unpredictability of it causes attachment difficulties for children. Are you going to be here tomorrow or are you not? Adding to the changes and the frustration that children are feeling. Avoidance and refusing to engage in um, activities, for example, brushing their teeth or daily routine activities suddenly become harder for children to engage with. This is their way of saying this is all a bit too much. Now, it's important to understand what our child is communicating into us with the behaviors because then that helps you understand or kind of reflect what do I want to assure them with. To make it easy, whenever you're in doubt, what is the behavior communicating to me? Try and use this three S's formula. So see, stay, support. So first, you want to observe the behavior. Our instinct, the first time we see our child dysregulated, showing big feelings and big emotions, is that we want to calm them down immediately. But it might be worth it the first time you observe these behaviors, just to try and see them. Try to see what happened right before this eruption in behavior, what happened before this tantrum. Maybe the alerts came like an hour before my child became dysregulated. Maybe they asked me earlier that they want to go to school, and I said, no, we're going to have school from home today. And they seemed okay. But then an hour later, our children kind of need that assurance. So that triggers them again. So see the behavior, see what happens before them. Then you will become able to see a pattern in those behaviors. You want to label the feeling, you want to say it out loud. A lot of the times we say to parents, name it to tame it. Whenever you name the behavior or name the feeling, immediately you're trying to tame that emotions and kind of ground your child a little bit. Um, and then you want to offer support with simple actions and simple language. And we will see more of how does that support look like. Now, before we get into through some of the details, we want to know that there are some principles in communication with children in crisis. These apply in general to most children, but we will see how they apply specifically for children with speech, language, and communication differences and needs. The first thing would be is keeping our language simple, short, and again, repetitive. Repetitiveness helps with assurance, routine, structure. And a lot of the times parents would feel pressure to give different answers. So every day, maybe your child is asking you in different ways or behaving in different ways, and you feel that maybe whatever I said didn't work. That's why they're asking again. But in reality, their question is a seeking for assurance. So it's okay to repeat our answers over and over again because the what our children are asking for is sometimes assurance rather than actual facts and confirmations of for their questions. Using visuals, gestures, and tone. Nonverbal communication is extremely important for children with communication difficulties and needs. We want to support our message, our expressive message, the way we speak our words with visual cards, and we'll see more a bit of those, pointing, gesturing, teaching children simple signs to ask for a hug or to ask for maybe some of their sensory tools that help them calm down. Our tone is a big one. A lot of the times parents would feel frustrated, and that's very, very normal. But children do pick up on those small changes in our facial expressions, even our big body move. So like, are we looking large over our children? Are we standing too tall while they're on the ground? Asking their questions. We want to get down to their level. We want to make sure that our tone is calm and soothing. Sometimes you might not have the right words to say, but your tone and your facial expressions can support and deliver the assurance that your child is seeking. Very, very important is to follow your child's lead. When there's lots and big changes of routine, children feel dysregulated, and then following their lead can give them a bit of control, because while they do want assurance, they also want a sense of control, because control makes us feel assured. So if your child tends to kind of refuse to do things, try to explore what are they trying to lead you to. Maybe they lead toward maybe certain TV shows or certain books or certain activities a bit more. Follow their lead a little bit and then establish the routine around what they are showing interest in. Maintain routine and predictability as much as possible. And I say this with a lot of compassion for a lot of families right now, because we cannot really control all of the changes that are happening to our children. We don't have predictability ourselves sometimes to offer to children, but try to have a small, smart goal. So maybe you cannot have a well-structured routine for the whole week, but aim for maybe 1 or 2 days of a structure around their activities, their meal time, their bedtime. These are really, really important. Children are used to kind of changes in their bedtime routine or morning routine on the weekends, but now every day almost looks like their weekends. So adding a little bit of structure to things that you can control, not necessarily the things that are out of control, can still offer that sense of safety and assurance. Now, how do we support children using our language? So maybe our children do express themselves, they can ask questions with limited language that they have. Um, I would say start with first checking their understanding. Usually, this is the best first point to start with, is we want to know how much they actually understand, how much do they know, and then based on that, we can adjust the language we use. It's very important that we do not invalidate their feelings or their experiences. We don't want to give them inaccurate information. We don't need to give them detailed, elaborate explanations for the things that are going around, but at the same time, it's not advisable to kind of dismiss what's happening. So a lot of the times we might just say, oh, there's nothing happening, everything is fine. And our intention is to assure them for sure. But once you check their understanding, how much they know, what did they hear, then you can base your responses based on that. We want to again use clear, concrete language. Children with communication differences struggle with abstract concepts. A lot of the words that we hear, like alerts, alarms, distant learning, these words are not easy to show in a picture. You cannot simply explain it with words. So we want to try our best to use pictures or visuals plus some concrete language that it's simple to understand. So you can say there's a problem in another place or a problem's happening around us, but we are safe right here and right now. So we want to keep it simple, but not invalidate the information that they just shared with us. Most of the times, what children again want is seeking assurance. So labeling their emotions offers them immediate kind of a little bit of assurance. Once we name it, we tame it. Now, if our children are not speaking yet, and maybe they use some words or some gestures to communicate their needs, it's very, very important here to rely on nonverbal ways of communication. So we want to use lots of pictures and symbols. If you see here in the picture, this is a guide for some of the tools that children can use to regulate. So when we say, okay, take a deep breath together, it might be difficult to describe it in words, but once we show it in picture, that can support the message and make it easier for your child to understand. You can use gesture, pointing, again, tone, being slow, calm, getting down to your child's eye level, matching your body and posture to theirs offers reassurance. And AAC, which is alternative and augmentative communication, and I'll share some resources for this later. These are tools that help you explain what's going on, explain the routine, build the routine using visuals. What we want to focus on is, again, check their understanding. Then we don't want to force them to respond verbally at the same time. We just want to offer them tools to kind of regulate with us or acknowledge their feelings, acknowledge that we know that they're distressed because of the change. Um, Back to the point of all behavior is communication. We tend to kind of observe different behaviors, and instead of attempting to stop them, we want to reframe that by using different language, and we want to validate our children's feelings. So one thing we can say is, if you see your child maybe distressed physically, you can say, your body's telling me something is wrong. If they're not going to bed on time, you can say, I know that you're feeling scared. This feels too much right now. And then offer assurance at the end of your message of, I'm with you. I will help you. I know you're feeling upset. I'm here and we're safe. After you offer this assurance with our words, or giving words to their actions, we can regulate after this. So you can sit down with them for a little bit, get down to their level, use the tools that we spoke about before, and to kind of navigate those with them. What are some of those tools to help children express themselves when their language is not there fully developed and is not the primary way that they communicate? Drawing is a big one. So if your child enjoys drawing with paint or maybe even modeling with clay and Play-Doh, you can use that. It gives them a sensory input at the same time. They can express some of those emotions through drawing, through color. We want to play, so you can use toy figures, you can use physical play at the same time. This is a way of expressing and kind of venting out some of those build-up emotions they have. Emotion cards are really, really useful. So I recommend to some of the parents to have them maybe in a very high traffic area at the house, maybe around the door, in the kitchen, around the dining area. We have emotion cards, feeling happy, safe, sad, cards that kind of they need to ask for like a hug, or I need to be next to you. I need you to come sit with me. So if they cannot use their words immediately, they have that kind of visual to help them. Choice boards are really, really helpful as well. And sensory calming, sensory things like activities and play are helpful for all children in general, but offering deep pressure, offering or dedicating a quiet maybe nook in the house or a corner where they have some of their kind of preferred items, their stuffed dolls, their toys, their books that usually they enjoy. So having them all in one corner and naming that corner as our quiet space, our safe space, can help you with sending your child there when they become dysregulated or they're feeling big emotions. Now, if you need a tool to kind of apply and use in with your children, I would recommend the Twinkle Simples app. This is a very easy, intuitive app. A lot of families use it, so you can scan the code. What this app allows you to do is you can create visuals for routine. So, for example, as I said, we might not predict routine for the full week. You might need to establish routine every day in the morning at the beginning of the day. So you can use the application to kind of set up what does your child's day look like. So we can have a picture for breakfast, um, online classes, break time, TV show, and then story time or whatever routines you can kind of build in your child's day. You can use that app to use those visuals. And I would say even if our children can use words to express themselves, those visuals can be a tool for you to, instead of repeating all over again, you can just refer them to the visual schedule. And I would encourage you to set it together. So it's really soothing for children to sit down with you and choose. The application has lots of pictures that can help you, but also you can take pictures from your environment and use them. Now, before we continue with other aspects of how to support our children, I want to start with saying that children, again, tune into the adult. There are some things that they might not fully understand how they're experiencing their bodies, and the first things that they might look for is the adult around them, their parent, their caregivers. So they will look around and see if we look dysregulated, we're anxious, we're stressed, children actually can tune into this. They can see it in our facial expressions, changes in our body and our movement, and as well as changing to our routine. So they sink in with your nervous system. Um, so in that case, even if you do a very small, short 1 minute reset for yourself as a parent to check in with yourself, look after yourself, make sure that you're ready to co-regulate and support your child. This can be really, really valuable. So you can start with regulating yourself through slow breathing, relaxed shoulders, lowering our voice. This also helps us calm down. We want to get low and soft with our body language around our children. You can kneel or sit down in front of them, get to their eye level, keep our faces gentle. All these things can signal to our children that we are calm. And then without you having to say, let's be calm, they already can tune in and sync with your nervous system. You want to name what you see without judgment. And so you might kind of see your child or your environment being chaotic and overwhelming for you first. So we want to look around our environment and just try to withhold judgment and just say it's okay to feel this way to ourselves and then offer it to our children. Whenever we want to offer or we want to regulate with our children, it's good starting point to offer some choices. So you can ask your child if they want a hug, they want a space, they want to go to their corner. Sometimes you can just offer them a snack or water. We said that some of the behavioral changes would look like refusing to eat, refusing to engage in activities that were enjoyable before. So you want to remind your children that maybe they're feeling hungry, but they refuse to eat earlier. Want to keep the choices limited though to one or two to make it easier for our children. We don't want to add more um, uh, overwhelming options for them. Sensory cues are really important. So rhythm and sensory cues help regulate the nervous system. This looks like slow rocking. So you can put your child in your lap and rock together. You can give them a gentle rub on their back or on their head. These things already help regulate, even if you don't feel like you're ready to explain and say all these things. Breathing together. So a lot of the times when we tell parents kind of take deep breaths with your children, one of the things that they come up with is, I don't know how to explain breathing to a 5-year-old or a 2-year-old or 3-year-old. One thing you can do is just model it. So you can just breathe and they will sink in. Just keep going, repeat the breathing, they will sink into it. You can also use simple things like a candle, or you can blow on paper or small leaves. Those things can mimic breathing for a couple of seconds with your child. If not, you can just take a walk around the house, around the hallways if you're not feeling safe to go outside or around your neighborhood. These work very, very well for the younger children. Now, sometimes maybe none of those things seem to work, or not every moment we're able and ready to check in, regulate, start deep breathing because there's lots going on in our mind. A lot of you are maybe working from home as well. So just our presence with low expectations, low pressure on ourselves and on our children can signal that regulation. So you can just sit nearby, you can stay calm, you can say, I'm right here with you. And again, just model with your behaviors. Sometimes just regulating ourselves again help our children regulate and feel safe. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on as well, and this is something that we get a lot of questions around, and we've seen it in the past couple weeks, is when the alarms come or the alerts come up and our children hear them. So they might ask questions, they might close their ears, they might just get startled. So I just want to share some strategies that can help us. So if your child can't express it with words that this has caused them some stress or anxiety or worry, you can look for signs like closing their ears, saying it's too loud, what's that sound? Maybe they're crying. Sometimes children actually just freeze where they are, so they will stop what they're doing. They lose interest in the activity they were already doing. They might just run to you, get closer to you, or kind of approach you with a hug for a hug. And you, what we're going to do is trying to translate those experiences into language to them. So if it's a sudden loud noise, will cause them a sensory overload. They'll be confused. They might ask you, what's that sound? If they can express that. Um, they might feel that there's an immediate danger because of the alert. Um, they will rely heavily on you. So this is the moment where you see increased attachment, even moments after the alerts are gone. So we want to be more mindful during those moments to apply those strategies and offer assurance, understand and translate their behaviors. Um, you don't really need to give elaborate explanations. Instead, you can just use simple language of, this sound means we need to go to our safe corner. This sound means some people are working hard on making sure that we're safe right now, and we need to stay home safe and calm. And if you feel that you might not have the right words right away, or children sometimes take us by surprise with their actions or their words, we want to respond with our behaviors instead. So we might just give them a hug, give them some deep pressure, offer them their comfort items. How to respond? Again, this sound means people are working to keep us safe. This alarm tells us it's time to go to our safe place, and I would recommend establishing that place for the younger children. We know what to do. We've done it before. We are together right now. Because remember, the more we hear those things, the children not necessarily asking why is the sound happening, they're asking for assurance. And that can help you kind of feel less pressure on providing answers or perfect answers every time. Here's a quick cheat sheet that you can use. Some of the things that we want to do or say is, again, keeping our language simple and short. Repeat our key messages. So the way we respond to the alerts, the way we respond to their frustration, to their behaviors. Repetitiveness help our children feel calmer. Staying calm, regulating ourselves, checking in with ourselves, making sure that we're ready, allowing expression through play and behavior. We don't want to, again, stop the behaviors immediately. We want to allow it a little bit because it's an expression. Co-regulate whenever possible, and build routine. Again, you might not be able to build it all over the day. You might have one or two anchors in the day where those things are not changing. So maybe making sure that lunchtime is fixed at a certain time, an hour, or maybe a bedtime story at a specific time of the day. Even if your child struggles to go to bed, still can offer that assurance and that sense of routine, sense of normal activities around their day. Things we want to avoid is, again, trying to stop the behaviors immediately, stop crying, stop shouting. This is nothing, everything is fine. This can be very invalidating to children. Um, Kind of asking a lot of questions. So why are you doing this? What do you know? What do you feel? Who said that? We want to reduce questions because they signal pressure and kind of dysregulate our children. Long explanations about the events are not really necessary. Forcing children to talk. So if you feel that your child, maybe you talk with them, you want to engage them, you want to try to calm them down using lots of conversations. If your child is not ready to communicate, that's okay. We don't want to pressure them, or punish emotional expressions. Again, behaviors are, when they're communicating with challenging behaviors, they're challenging to us, not to them. That we're the ones being challenged with those shifts in behaviors. So we don't want to punish them by when they're choosing to express themselves. Instead, we can just allow some leeway around some of those behaviors and expressions, especially when it comes to tantrums and meltdowns. Whatever we say in those moments doesn't get through to our children. So we can just let it go with the flow for a little bit, work on regulating yourself. Once your child is calm and ready, then you can engage again with them. But don't feel the pressure that I need to calm them down right now. Um, you will become dysregulated with them as well. Before we end, I'm just going to share some of the book recommendations that we came across. So you can take pictures of this, but you also can find the webinar on YouTube later on if you want to go back to some of these books. Some of these books are more suitable for older children, others are more simple. So you can take pictures of them. These are books to help understand emotions and behavior in general. So maybe that is your starting point. Maybe your children and need some support with naming, labeling, expanding their vocabulary for emotions in general. Specifically for an anxiety, fear, and crisis or change. These are some of the books that we would recommend. You can explore them, see what works best for you. Um, and I would encourage you if you use any applications that similar to the one I shared, you can actually create your own storybooks. So you might find it entertaining or kind of a family activity that you set up the story together. So you can start with what do we do when we hear the alarm? This is how our day looks like. This is how we feel about those things. And this can be a bit more individualized because you might find that these books are a bit more complex or too simple for your child, so you can create your own. And finally, I want to end before we get to the question segment is that you can always get in touch for support. There's lots of resources out there that you can reach out to. Look after yourself. You are the container for your child. They tune into you, they sync their nervous system with you. So if you feel overwhelmed yourself, this might be the best starting point for you. We appreciate your feedback, so you can scan the code or the link and give us your feedback. I'm going to get to the chat and see if some of you have shared some of their questions. I'm going to allow a few minutes for you if you come up with any questions, any experiences that you want to share, any reflections that you've had throughout the webinar or the past experience, how you maybe your children experienced the current events if your child has some communication difficulties. I saw a question, what movies do you recommend to watch? Inside Out is a good movie. It's a really nice movie because it explores different emotions and there's lots of activities that you can find online that you can use post watching the movie and pick up some of the feelings that are coming up to your child and maybe give context to them. So, oh, we fear fear. When we hear the alerts, I feel sadness when I don't get to go to school. So that would be a good movie to start watching with your children. There's two parts. You can do one or two, and there's lots of activities free online that you can engage your children with. And some of them actually are very sensory. So if your child needs that sensory input as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. If you have questions for us later, maybe something will come up to you later, please feel free to reach us for any of the questions that you come up for you later. It was very, very lovely meeting you all. Yeah, Jennifer, I think you have a question if you want to type it in. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Again, it was lovely kind of meeting you all and attending today's webinar. We need to continue supporting each other as a community. Um, yes, Nasma, you have a question? I'm here. Oh, thank you, Reem. Say hi as well. Thank you so much. I hope she's doing well. Is it better to tell the child the truth if asked directly? As I said earlier, our children are not necessarily asking for factual information. what I would say is important to not invalidate. So what we might say is, you might have heard this on the news, or you might have heard this from people talking about it. So maybe know the source where they've heard some of the information. We want to explain to them in simple terms that there is conflict around us. People have disagreements. And right now, what we want to do is make sure that we're all safe and people around us are making sure that we are safe. Again, our children are just seeking assurance constantly. I would discourage not telling the truth, but at the same time, I would avoid elaborate explanations, because the more we engage with children, we might sometimes kind of feed into their fear, because the more we share, the more questions they'll ask. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm just checking, making sure I didn't miss any questions. Okay, perfect, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see each other in another webinar in the future. Take care. Bye.